Everyone, and welcome. I am Krista Middleton. I'm a certified psychedelic facilitator here at Beckley Retreats, and I'm also a creative producer and strategist, working to bring the benefits of psychedelics into the mainstream by creating experiences and conversations where people feel like they really belong. So I'm super glad that you're here with us today, and I'm very excited to introduce you to our creative guide for this workshop. Someone that I've been following and inspired by for over 10 years, Bri Emery. If you don't know her, Bri is a creative director, artist, and the founder of Designlovefest, which is a hugely popular creative platform whose aesthetic shaped the digital lifestyle culture throughout the 2010s and cultivated a large, deeply engaged audience, which I'm sure many of you here are a part of. So if that's how you got here, welcome. Bri has been featured in Forbes. She's designed product lines with Target and Keds. She's been a guest host on HGTV, and she's worked with global brands including Gucci, Airbnb, and Disney. And I know she would not like me to call her an expert on creativity, but after almost 2 decades at the forefront of creative culture, I definitely think she's earned it. So after going through a deep transformational period, Bree's now exploring how imagination, beauty, and creative practice can support emotional well-being and nervous system regulation, which is what brings her here today. And I'm really excited to work through some of these practices that she's going to share today because she introduced me to them a couple months ago, and I've already seen how easy it is to actually integrate them into my daily life and what an impact they can have on the ability to work through my own emotions. And we would also love for you to stay till the end. Afterwards, we're going to share a discount code for any Beckley retreat if that's something that's interesting to people. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to Bri.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much to Beckley and for all of you for showing up. I couldn't be more excited to talk about creativity with you today. Let me get this going. So, today we're going to talk about creativity and integration, and specifically how creativity helps us process emotions and integrate big experiences into our lives. So I thought I'd give you a little map of our journey together today. Will probably be around an hour. Um, I'm going to start with talking about how creativity has helped me with my PTSD symptoms, and also a little bit about my Beckley retreat experience. Also go into creative blocks, those pesky blocks, and some easy ways to kind of get around those. And we'll also talk about the science of art and beauty. And then if you're down, we're going to try a few creative experiments together. And then we'll move into some inspiration for some easy entry points to flow state. And we'll end with a Q&A. So ask me anything. I'm an open book. And you can just put your questions in the chat and Krista will be reading them off to me. Okay, so a little bit about my creative journey, creativity and color. Just expressing visually has always been my preferred language. I This is actually my high school journal. You would always find me in the back of class cutting and taping, and it was always just how I expressed myself. And that journal went into a Zanga and a MySpace and then eventually a blog, which became my career. So that led me into 10 years of social media and creative direction and just being online. And then COVID happened, 2020, and a lot came up to the surface. A lot of repressed memories for me of some child trauma. And I just found myself completely cut off from inspiration or creativity in general. I really saw that I was leaning on work to hold some of these feelings in. And then once work was not there, once, socializing was not there, it was just sort of like a wave that I couldn't stop. So I thought that I could move through it with creativity, but I realized at that point I had really tied my creativity into work. So then anything I was creating, it would be like, for what? Why would I take this picture if it wasn't to post online, And I really saw that I struggled to create just for no reason, just to express myself, which is something that, I was used to doing. So I continued on a few years path searching, trying out lots of different modalities, EMDR, somatic therapy, and psychedelics. And through that, my body started to kind of come back online and I felt more safety. And so my imagination started coming back, and a creative practice began to form that helped me a lot. And that's why I'm so grateful for creativity because it's something that I truly believe all of us have inside of us, and it's free and available right now. So I was so excited to get into that. My Beckley experience. So through that journey last summer, I decided to go on a mushroom retreat in Jamaica. I had done other psychedelic experiences before, more in a controlled one-on-one setting. So this was my first time in a group setting, and that made me feel very nervous. I remember being like, what am I gonna see? What's it gonna be like? How it can feel vulnerable, but it really was one of the like most peak experiences of my life. So meaningful in so many ways. Like just even the nature alone is like mind-blowing, and having those people in the group to go on that experience with and seeing, these 15 people from the beginning and how light they feel at the end is like it's really mind-blowing. So I tell everyone it was a 20 out of 10 experience, and it really, really was for me. I've always struggled with just sort of this low level anxiety, sometimes high level, and it would feel like irritation in my body or just this restlessness, which would then easily turn into anger. And that was something that I really went into this retreat wanting to work through. And now, like 9 months later, I think like it is still such a massive difference in that that irritation is not like all over me. So I had such a physical, amazing time there. I felt so safe and seen. So I really recommend this place, Beckley. Thank you so much. So, a way that I wanted to hold on to these like experiences while on the mushrooms was I wanted to figure out how can I use creativity to hold on to this feeling. They talk a lot about new neural pathways, new habits forming from this. So, I really wanted to bring some of that feeling home. A lot of my um experience was about bliss and dancing and singing and movement. And like when I got home, I bought glitter bongos at the thrift store and I was like singing, which is something that I just never do, and moving and drawing more and cooking. I recreated like jerk chicken that we had on the retreat. So it's really about how can I maybe not exactly capture what I felt during this experience, but how can I hold on to that feeling? So there's lots of different ways, videos, photos, drumming, singing that can help you hold on to it. And now when I listen to the songs, it just brings me right back. So we'll talk about some ways that you can do that, but that was super helpful to integrate this creatively. So let's talk about the way in to creativity, preparing to enter it. Because creativity isn't something that we're good or bad at. It's not just for some people, it's for all of us. And it's a state that you enter, and entering can sometimes be the hardest part. Just starting. You might have a lot of ideas of things that you want to do. You might have all the supplies, but for some reason, you can't seem to get started. And our minds, although they appear to be trying to help us, can really keep us stuck. They can be hard on us and say, like, this looks terrible. I'm not creative. Like, what is the point of this? I don't have time for this. But our creativity is always right on the other side of that wall. I like to imagine it as like, because you can feel it. I want to start this project, but something's making me not be able to. I just imagine it as a wall and then I shrink it down and I just walk around it. So we can just try to like play with it with our imaginations too. So, how do we freely create and loosen up and play and not care about what it looks like and even enjoy this process? I found for me, it's really helpful to take in the sensory experience because it's not about what we're making, it's about what we're expressing. It's about being in the present, having this enjoyable experience with color, with textures, with expression. So, how does it feel to just run your hands through gel beads? How does it feel to just paint on cardboard that you have laying around or tape together Trader Joe's bags and get your family to paint together? How can we just take in the senses? And you want to just keep it simple, short, 5 to 10 minutes a day. Use what you have around the house because you're going to see that these 10 minutes really add up throughout your week and you'll start to notice these shifts that happen in your internal and external state. Nature is always a great way to get a dose. Just 15 minutes in nature can drop our stress levels in our body. So it's the perfect way to get in our creativity. I love to take little videos like this outside and just notice what's beautiful outside because if you can add those two together, usually lowering the stress and making it easier can kind of help you to find that state that you want to enter.
Can I just say something great about that
Yeah.
last one? It just reminded me of literally today I was sitting on my couch working on something, and because you and I have been working together on this, I like noticed the sun dappling in from the lights, and I just like sat there for a second and just enjoyed it. And it's like, yeah, just these like little moments, and it's like a reminder of like, okay.
Yes. Light dappling is literally one of the best things. So, similar to psychedelics, set and setting is really important, setting ourselves up to succeed. Set is our internal state, and setting is our environment. So, internal state, we want to just lower the pressure, take the pressure completely off. We are not making something that is for anyone else. We are doing something that is for us, that feels good. So, finding that playful, childlike mindset, like me in the corner there, just kick back, ready to play, just setting that intention of like, I just want to have fun and enjoy for 20 minutes today. And then your setting, for me, I really like quiet, like silence. Other people like music. But what helps you feel in the zone? What clothes do you want to wear that feel maybe loose or you're able to move around? What is something that makes you feel comfortable? Maybe there's a certain room that you want to start in. And a lot of the times having a friend there can help you stay in the state longer too. So just have a friend. I'll have friends over for like chili and drawing. And it's just like so chill and so fun. So getting yourself set up to go into creativity, I really like that. So the science, creativity is good for us on so many levels. I'm sure many of you are creatives that are here today, and you know that it feels good, but it's so cool to see the data now. We've always used creativity throughout time and through so many different cultures to process, to as just a way of life, dancing, singing, making. We have all these nonverbal ways to process, maybe ceramics or beads, these things that we can get immersed in that help us process in a different way than just talking about something or thinking about something. But over time, as I noticed, it got turned into a skill or something that you're good at or something that you have to share or something that doesn't feel quite good enough, which isn't a good feeling. And so a lot of us tend to stop creating because that feeling is really difficult. Might bring up feelings that we felt when we were a kid that we just don't want to feel. But now seeing this data that shows how good creativity is for our health, we can really put in that intention. There's an amazing book I highly recommend, Your Brain on Art. And in this, Susan and Ivy talk about art and aesthetic experiences change our biology. So there is so many different cool facts in this book. And it goes over neuroaesthetics, which is the science of how art and creativity impact our bodies and brains. Just 10 to 20 minutes a day of looking at art, just looking at it, looking at colors, coloring, humming makes a big difference. It lowers our stress, it helps that mood, and helps us process just the emotions we have throughout the day. Some doctors are now even prescribing museum visits for stress and mental health, which I think is so cool. So you can kind of think of it as like your 20 minutes is like getting your 10,000 steps, So even 2 minutes, even 5 minutes, even noticing that light is something. And the biggest part is that it doesn't have to look good. I actually love when it looks terrible now because I'm letting a younger part of me be free and play and express. I always notice when I just completely let go, there's so many benefits to that. So we want to have our brain use the natural tools to feel better in this really accessible way. And that can lead us into flow state, which I'm sure a lot of you have felt before. It's a well-studied, sort of expanded state where you feel just like totally absorbed in what you're doing. You feel focused, maybe you lose track of time. Feels just effortless. And like that part of our brain that can just be so hard on us and critical, it just tends to kind of quiet down and it just like lets you get those feel good chemicals. You're getting dopamine and endorphins, not from scrolling, but from creating and expressing. So I've really seen this is where big ideas and new patterns and connections can come. So when you do this regularly, I've seen that you can find flow state pretty easily. You can just be like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of this drawing, and then you'll find yourself have a great idea. Actually, I want to try this project this way today. And you'll just notice that it becomes way easier when you have this daily process that can just like lead you right into it. So we'll talk a little bit about that later too, and even try some things out. Serious art is born from serious play. This is from The Artist Way, which I also highly recommend doing it. It is something that brought me to life as well during that time and helped me, connect with that younger me and learn how to play again. So, are you guys ready to do some little experiments? They'll be fun and creative. I'll give you some context first before we dive in. But emotions, they live in our bodies. We might feel anxiety as like tight chest or our heart racing. We sadness might feel this like overall heaviness or low energy or that anger, heat, or just kind of like floating away feeling. These emotions, you may have heard energy in motion, they're meant to move. But a lot of us never learned how to let that happen. I know I didn't. It's not something that we were taught how to do. And so they just end up getting stuck and they build up. A lot of them could be from early years. The world is like going through so much and we're processing so much on our phones that we just get overwhelmed and freeze, honestly. And we're not really taught how can we move this through our bodies. You may have noticed like an animal, like if they just experience something scary, they just shake and they move on. They don't think about it. Their body just naturally does what it needs to do. And we have that as well. There's a neuroscientist, Jill Bolt Taylor, and she talks about the initial chemical response of an emotion in the body lasts 90 seconds. And we are the ones that keep it going by looping it with our thoughts. Think about it this way, we think about it that way, we analyze it and we think. So this 90 seconds really stayed with me. I was like, okay, 90 seconds, I can work with this. What are some ways that I can get creative with this 90 seconds? Because I've got a lot of feelings that I need to do something with. I was desperate at this time. So this is a 90-second exercise that I came up just to help me move through my emotions in a creative way. It's really inspired by EMDR and somatic experiences that show us that if we go back and forth or up and down, it really helps our brain come out of that fight or flight mode and go into both sides of our brain so that we can just put everything in the right on the right shelf and things don't loop and stay stuck in our bodies, just kind of giving us that low level anxiety. So essentially, what we're going to be doing here is looking on our bodies, kind of scanning our bodies, and finding something that feels not so comfortable. Right now, I notice I've got some tense shoulders. So I'm just going to notice that, and then I'm going to see what color do I want to make that. And my mind just shows me a color green. But if yours doesn't, you can literally just use green or you can pick the first color that comes to mind. Then we'll scan and find a more comfortable area. A lot of the times I'll use my nose or the top of my head because they feel just kind of still and reliable. And then we're just going to go back and forth for 90 seconds. I'm going to set the timer and we'll just go back and forth. So you may feel sensations, you may feel nothing, and both are totally normal. Krista's done this before with me. It is just a fun little thing to notice. You can always pause or stop or you could just watch. But I'd love if you tried it out with me because it's a fun thing you can use in a lot of different ways. So if you want to try it, I invite you to just kind of look around your room and notice three colors that your eyes like to look at. So I'm going to choose my yellow cup, my pink pen, bonus points if you can look outside and notice something. And then I want you to notice two textures that feel good to look at. I really like this paper lantern and the texture of my pants. So with that, if it feels good, you can just close your eyes. and scan your body for something that feels maybe a little uncomfortable. Maybe your chest is tight. Maybe you have a pain somewhere on your body, your shoulders. And then I want you to just assign it a color. You don't have to overthink it. Any color works. What color does that area feel like? And then we're going to just look on our bodies for something that feels just a little bit better than that. Maybe it feels kind of calm or neutral. I'm going to use my nose, and we're going to give that a color too. So my nose feels yellow and my shoulders feel green. So I'm just going to imagine those sensations as colors. And then I'm going to just set this timer and we're going to go back and forth for 90 seconds. So I'll let you know when we're halfway through. So all I want you to do is go from one spot to the other spot, looking at those colors on the inside, back and forth for 90 seconds. Don't overthink it. If you get lost, just come back to your good spot. Okay, here we go. Breathe. Just notice any sensations. It's okay if you don't feel anything. We're about halfway through, and just keep going back and forth. So let's take our last three back and forth. Just taking notes inside. And then you can open your eyes and just look at that color or colors in your room that you liked before you start. Maybe there's a new color you want to look at. I want you to just take a moment. For me, I noticed that my shoulders, they feel like 50% less up. I noticed during I was having these little ear pops and kind of like a smiling feeling happening. Just feels like there's a little bit more space inside. So if you want, you can write in the chat just one thing that you noticed, or you can write it down on your paper.
I noticed halfway through that I just did like a big inhale and exhale and like kind of like,
Yes. It's really nice. I use this all the time. if I'm feeling a big feeling of an emotion that is not comfortable, I have found that just abstracting it into a color really helps me. You can also draw these colors on a piece of paper and look back and forth. Don't overthink it. You can use this a lot for something that feels physically uncomfortable or maybe mentally that's stressing you out. Just try to locate where it is and go back and forth for 90 seconds. I noticed a lot of you guys are feeling less pain in your sore spot, more relaxed, elongated out breath, tingling with glitter. Love that. Okay, becoming a tree. I love that. Stomach felt better somehow. I love it. Soothing in your body, felt slower.
Mm.
Oh,
Just before the call, we were chatting about how you can use this for pain. Somebody had a headache, so yeah, you can use it for pain. I also use it like if I get triggered in an emotion, like if I'm irritated by my partner and I know that I'm overreacting, I'll literally be like, okay, I'm gonna go sit for 90 seconds and do the dots and just like, and then I'm like grounded again and more calm and not
totally.
reactive.
I love that because the reactivity is usually something that's trying to help us, but we need to just like kind of bring it down. And the colors, just the power of color, I love so much. And I see someone had like an emotional release and began to cry, totally normal. And like, just take it slow. Like, this isn't meant to replace therapy, it's just meant to be something that can support you through your day to day. And just help you kind of process. And you might have seen too that 90 seconds feels really long. You don't, I kind of understand why people aren't doing the 90 seconds and just kind of going on their phone instead. I love it. Unclear of the point of choosing three colors. So the point of choosing the colors and the textures in the beginning is just to notice, wow, my body can feel a little bit more relaxed just looking at a color or looking at a texture that I enjoy. So it kind of helps us come into the present and feel a little bit safer in our body. Because when we feel safe, the more we can process. So ask me anything about that or write me separately, but do the dots whenever you need.
And I just want to mention, because I didn't at the beginning, please put your questions into the chat as you go if they come up, or you can save them at the end, but we'll put them all together and then get through as many as we can at the end.
Let's see which time we have. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. Sparkles. I mean, come on. So now we're going to talk about my daily practice. This is my 20 minutes a day. I try to do this every day. This is how I express and process. And this is something that I can actually stick to because I have the tendency, I do have ADHD where I change and move hobbies and things I want to do, but this is something that's easy enough. Like you can see here, I was doing it before this, just scribbling, coloring on a piece of paper for 20 minutes. If you've done the artist way, she basically recommends doing 3 stream of consciousness journal pages in the morning, and this moves your mind and kind of helps you just feel more yourself. And that really works. My version is just to kind of freestyle it a little bit more. Like I said, I like to have that abstraction piece. So I was really inspired by automatic drawing, which is something that the surrealists actually did to access their subconscious. So it's basically like letting go of control completely. They say you can really access parts of yourself that are more hidden. And I just think that's so cool. So I like to use it to kind of notice my inner world, and then I just abstract things into colors and thought forms. And this is always so regulating for me, and I always feel just like more clear-headed afterwards. And it doesn't have to make any sense. It's so cool when it makes no sense. Like, so today, this is your permission slip to make ugly crazy looking art, or it can be beautiful. It's up to you. But I want you to just try to have that playful mindset. We'll take a second if you have. I've got a lot of gel pens here, but even just two pens, one pen works. Use what you have. But I like having just different color options so that I can kind of pair my emotions or my thoughts with colors, and that helps me really kind of express them. So we're not going to focus on making anything. We're just going to focus on expressing. So something that you could do maybe would be what you just experienced with the dots. I did green and yellow, for my dots. So let's say I want to express what I felt in my shoulders. It felt heavy. Now I'm irritated because this pen is out of ink. So how am I going to show irritation? I might move quicker, faster. Did it feel up and down? What is the speed that felt like that area that was uncomfortable? You can write words too if that's your jam. And then what did the yellow feel like? Maybe it felt more circular. Maybe it felt slower. Often it feels like my softer one reaches out to help, the uncomfortable part. So maybe that looks like this. It's reaching out to help those shoulders. It's just abstract something. You'll see earlier, I was just like, I'm nervous for this call, and that looks like this, but I'm also excited, and I'm really excited with these shots. Just, I'm anxious, I'm nervous. What does that look like? So, I'm going to set a timer. We're just going to do 10 minutes of freestyling. Anything you want. You don't have to show anyone, just for you. And I just want you to notice how you feel. Actually, we're running a little short, so I'm going to do 8 minutes. Okay? So I'll see you back here in 8 minutes if you have your piece of paper. And let's see what you do. No pressure. Have fun. What would little you like to say or do? If you notice that critical voice come in and say, this doesn't look good, or I don't like this. Well, can we draw what that feeling looks like too? That's your last 2 minutes. I'm just noticing how we feel. Maybe write down a few words. How does it feel to make something just because? Love that someone said it feels invigorating. It feels fun to draw just for me. It's so true. No agenda, no reason. Just as a way to express and feel better, calm the mind. Free and open, someone says. I love that. Could definitely do this every day. I promise you can. You can always switch the medium too, but just set a timer. 20 minutes, 10 minutes to start, 5 minutes to start. And then you'll notice that you just don't feel the same unless you do it every day.
I'm truly amazed at like how relaxed I feel now. And supplies are always such a barrier for me, like
Mhm.
buying them, using them. Like if they're too precious, I don't want to use them. I don't want to use paper because it's not going to be pretty. So for me, a huge release is getting an old iPad and just drawing. And it's
Doing
just
that on
like
iPad. It's so fun. Close.
never ending. And I don't feel bad about just scribbling. So that was like an easy entry point for me.
And the precious is real. That's why I use lined paper because I'm like, this is not a blank page. This is just a lined notebook paper, Like I'm just writing myself a note. Don't overthink it. Just move the hand.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm always also amazed at like the more I do this, the more words come through. Like
Hmm.
completely just like flow through me and I like write them out. And sometimes they're like I wrote freedom, I wrote calm, I wrote hell yeah, just like
Someone asked if this will be recorded. It will. I also saw someone said that in the dots, their color became a little character. And I love that because that happens for me a lot. And also when I'm doing this drawing, there's like some Jungian things that where he did this free drawing and he would say these symbols came up and these characters come up, but I'm always seeing little characters that are or flowers that are like symbols for something. But you really just don't need much to start. Just a crayon laying around, anything, just start. So hopefully that inspired you a bit. And let's just end with some creative sparks, ideas for how to get the spark back. Just simple little things. How do we get our few minutes a day in? Everyone's different. This is why I love to think about what I like to do as a kid too, because doing those things is usually really cool. You can rearrange your nights. I wasn't rearranging my nightstand as a kid, but you could do that now. You could make a new recipe. You could take a walk and just like collect leaves. You can think about a problem in a new way. You can call a friend and talk about this project you have. That's using creativity. I did a gardening project yesterday. I remember when I started like this page, these are some of the things I did during the artist way, and I was like, just coloring paint on rocks or just shapes because it felt so not good to my soul to not be a good painter, which is like so silly, because when you actually do it, it feels great to do. And so, what are some things? Maybe yours is more musical. You want to sing or dance or make playlists. Like, there's so many ways that you can look at art, make art, express art without it you needing the perfect tool or the perfect moment. We really all have this access to these free things inside of us. And if we really think like, okay, this creativity is going to help me, like we might feel just a little bit more motivated to do it. So, if any of that resonated with you, I did start a Substack where there's lots of different ideas and imagination journeys and things. So, I'll send that out. It's just Bri Emery Substack because I couldn't think of a name. So, I didn't overthink it. So, let's go into the Q&A. Looks like we have about 10 minutes.
Perfect.
And if there's anything you want to ask, I'm all
Um,
ears.
Somebody just asked about the iPad, which I just wanted to answer really quickly. My iPad is from 2021, so it's 5 years old, and I literally just use the Notes app. I don't have any, I mean, you can use Procreate, and Brie will tell you it's amazing, but that has been a barrier for me to get that. But so just using the Notes app has worked well for me, which comes with it.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So questions. I saw somebody asked a bit earlier about do the dots, if it's just a visual process or if there's a part of it that goes on paper.
hmm So, do the dots is very flexible. I like to use it in my imagination because we always have that wherever we go. So, I've kind of used it more like you don't even have to do it with your eyes closed. You could be doing this in a conversation with a difficult person and notice, red chest, green hand. And you can be going back and forth without anyone knowing it. So it's your attention inside, but also I do it the same way on a piece of paper where I'll just notice, put it on one side, notice, put a color on the other side, and then go back and forth. So you can definitely do it both ways, but I want to make sure that you feel like you're in a place that has support, like because a lot of these kind of practices can bring up emotions and make you feel things. So
Really?
do it in these short little bursts, these 90 seconds, these be outside in nature, like make sure you're doing it in a supported way.
Yeah. Can you unshare your screen,
Oh
Brie?
yeah, sure.
Have more of your lovely face.
Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. Somebody said, I am moving into a new house that we built, and it's literally a blank canvas. Do you A, have ideas for how to process emotions for a big move, and B, advice on how to handle the overwhelm of wanting to do every house project at once? Very relatable for you.
Seriously. Well, one thing is definitely take the pressure off. We moved like almost 5 years ago, and we're just like not through almost anything that I wanted to be done. And I've found that like I'm so happy that we're not because when you live in a space, you really feel what is needed there, and you can't really feel that when you just moved in. So it's so nice to like live somewhere and then understand this room would be so nice green, and like have that feeling. So just taking it slower is good. And then doing the dots or doing this drawing for moving is definitely helpful because it is huge. I mean, I moved across the country and it's a lot of loss and a lot of excitement all at once. And like sometimes having too much, you want to just try to take the edge off a little bit every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's helped me too with my project. I agree. Second. Did you feel your break from Instagram was vital to you feeling safe to express yourself after burnout slash focusing on your healing? This
Mhm.
person said, I get so hung up on the expectation to share work and art and would love to find a balance and not feel guilty for not sharing slash permission to truly step away.
Yeah. I definitely felt like it was necessary. It kind of felt like a slow breakup, but there were a few years there where I was just like, it feels so good to be out of that loop. Even just noticing your thoughts on like, oh, should I post this? Or, oh, this would be nice to share. Like, it just feels so good to live in a safe bubble that's just you and like your family group chat, like send it to a friend. Like it's so nice to connect in these smaller ways. But I totally get that it feels like pressure. Maybe you have a business and you don't want to let it go, but for me, I just had to let it go. I didn't have any other choice, and it was the best thing to step away from.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody just asked about the discount code. No worries if you have to drop off early. We're going to email it to you, so everybody who came will definitely get the code. No stress on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Any advice or guidance on how to preserve creativity for your personal art when you also have a demanding creative day job?
Wait, sorry, can you read the beginning? I was
Yep.
reading something totally crazy.
Any advice or guidance on how to preserve your creativity for your personal art when you
Hmm.
also have a demanding creative day job?
Yeah, I mean, how to preserve it. That's why, like, I am so surprised that my art, like my iPad art, is like this, like, teenage, like, boy, like, bleh. Like it's such a style that I wouldn't even expect, but it comes out over and over and over. And like I want to like see what that's all about. Like why is my personal art so messy, whereas my creative front-facing art is so like pretty and beauty and like there's two parts of me, like I love the beauty but I also love the messy, so really leaning into preserving and not pushing away this part that really wants to express itself, and maybe it looks terrible, like that's cool, be a rebel.
Love that. Somebody said they're curious about more science tidbits. We might not be able to get into that now, but they said they lead retreats and offer creative projects, and they notice participants like the science. Maybe it
Mhm.
offers more buy-in. They want
Mhm.
people to feel safe and inspired. I guess the book that you.
Yeah, your brain on art is so incredible because it just mixes so many different studies together. I also love watching Susan and Ivy just on YouTube, and just hearing them talk about it is great. So just like Google your brain on art talk, and they went around and talked at all different places, and it gives you a great idea of all the science.
Yeah. Yeah, and we found the same thing that people really respond. It also with Beckley, right? Like people want to do this stuff that feels kind of magic, creativity, psychedelics, but they want it to be grounded in science too. So
Mhm.
can totally relate. I think maybe we will just wrap up here. The, uh, Also, sorry if we missed your question, but please do feel free to like connect with Bri on her Substack because she does literally share these practices there and a lot more. Like we said before, we'll send out an email shortly with the recording, info on how to connect with Bree, as well as the discount code off any Beckley retreats. It's quite a good discount. So, yeah, we want to
Cool
make
gift.
sure make things accessible as possible to people. And if anyone has questions specifically about a retreat, we'll also send a link so that you can do a little suitability quiz and or you can book a call with me or another member of our team and we can answer any questions that you have. I also want to acknowledge with the questions, there was also a lot of beautiful comments, and we're gonna go through all of this chat and read things thoroughly because I want to make sure Bree sees them because yeah, I really appreciate your
I know. How
feedback.
do we can save them? Because I was
Yeah,
like trying to read them
yeah,
already.
we can read them afterwards because
Okay.
there's so many wonderful things. Feedback and just like cute things. Like someone said they pet their cat, and that's like a
Oh,
way
yes.
nature, you
And
know.
someone asked, is it a plant medicine retreat? It is a psilocybin mushroom retreat that we're
Yes.
talking about that I went on.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Specifically, yeah.
Incredible. If you're on the fence, like, I mean, I can't even stress it enough how incredible it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's a
thank you
very
guys so much for being here. Thanks to my mom for being here. And I'll see you guys out there.
yeah.
Have
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.